All right, everybody. It's time for a little bit of Born Again to Live. And I'm going to be talking loudly while Eric coughs in the background. Let's see.
I'm here.
Yeah, he is here. He's here. We're kind of on a series right now on listening, hearing God's word, hearing from God. And we've gone through, if you haven't heard the last few episodes, just go ahead and listen to those. Maybe first or out of sequence. It doesn't matter. But we're going to talk today about how obedience can lead to freedom. So, Eric, I'm going to throw this hot potato on over to you.
All right. Obedience. What is obedience? It's doing what he wants.
Right, which the irony of that statement is obedience. We would normally think of that as the opposite of freedom. Doing what I want, is what's important. But if I'm doing what God wants, how is that freedom?
Yeah.
Explain that.
And a lot of people think that if you give your life to someone, like we say give our lives to God, that you're his slave and that you have no freedom. But the funny part is that when you do that, you get more freedom because he gives you more. I guess it would be like a dog. You give him more leash, the more he listens. You give him more. Yeah. So the better he walks, the more you give it. Well, that's what happens with us. Is he gives us, if we listen to him, he'll give us a leash that's longer, and we get more freedom and more responsibilities in his kingdom. Whereas you would think it'd be the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're not really a slave when you willingly give someone control over your life. You've obedience and freedom. Okay, so you want to start out by reading Psalm 37?
Yes.
4 through 7?
Yeah. So I was just going to go there. So the Psalm 37, 4 through 7 is, take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteousness shine, reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got tongue-tied there. Yeah. Battling this cold still.
Be still before the Lord and wait patiently. We've talked about that from probably day one. Like, patience is such a, that is a key theme throughout and throughout. I think that's why God gives us an eternity, because patience is, we need it. I remember one of my very first Bible studies. This was at a church, and it was a ladies' Bible study. And I remember the topic being Jonah. Okay. And again, even without doing the study, we all kind of knew the story of Jonah. And I remember sitting down that very first day and like reading some of the scriptures and answering the questions. And Eric, I kept getting this overriding just voice in my head saying, "You're not being patient, Amy. You're not being patient." And it had nothing to do with the story, but it was just kind of God revealing, like, and again, I was in this Bible study because I was in this seeking God phase. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then my girlfriend's like, I'm going to a Bible study. I'm like, that's what I need. I need to go there. I need to go there, And so in that moment, I'm, just reaching anywhere I can to get to know God. And reading Jonah, I hear God being like, patience, Amy, patience. But that was when it's just like, I finished reading the chapter and I looked up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not being patient. So that is a tough one. Being patient, waiting on God. I do love the second part. They do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. I mean, how many times, gosh, all you got to do is turn on the TV and you feel like people are getting away with their wicked schemes. But God sees it all. And
he rewards us for our obedience and our righteousness.
He does. And, this two-layered sandwich, Eric, the patience part. It's patience and it's God's timing.
Yeah.
Right. And right before we started this episode, I said to Eric, isn't it funny how God he waited till just the right time because when we start these podcasts, we have a very we have a verse and a topic, and then Eric's like, "You ready?" I'm like, "I guess." We push the record button and we start. And, sometimes we ramble and sometimes we get off on tangents, but everything that we're saying is it's from the heart. It's from experience. It's from our own lives. It is just us just pouring out who we are, what we've learned about God, and sharing that with you. That's all we're doing. And it amazes me that we can fill 17 minutes talking about something when we had nothing prepared, really. But again, God's timing, waiting on him to decide, okay, Eric, I know you've been working on this, but now it's time to do a podcast. Yeah. And now it's time to actually stop thinking about it and start doing it. And so you wait on God's timing, and he never steers you wrong. But yeah, and then the very first part of that verse, Eric, he gives you the desires of your heart. We've talked about this so much. And again, that is one of those scriptures I quote back to God all the time. Yep. You give me the desires of my heart, God. So you've given them to me. So let's make this happen. And oh yeah, there's that patience part. So
it's kind of funny that you put those two together. As you've been talking, man, I was thinking about, what am I patiently waiting for, and what's the desire of my heart?
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna lie, I'll be honest with anybody that wants to. I desire to have a wife and a family.
Yeah.
And God has just basically told me, just be patient. Just trust me. And I'm sitting here going, but God, I desire it. And it's like, just wait, be patient, be patient, be patient, be patient. And then I see, I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but I see people who treat people badly, or guys that treat women badly, and in situations, and I'm like, how are they married, or how do they have a girlfriend? And I'm alone. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I have to quote this back to God, and I say, listen, don't forget, this is what I want. This is my desire.
And then he would say right there in that verse, to not fret when people succeed in their ways.
That is all encompassed in this one scripture.
Right.
And this is way not what we were supposed to talk about, but this is what we talk about because it's real.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Those are the desires of my heart, and I commit my life to him, so I know at some point that it'll happen.
It will.
But I continue to wait, and it's that patience. And I think a lot of it is he hasn't lined it up yet.
Yeah.
I have to be patient enough to give him the room to move. Mm-hmm. And then eventually everything's going to work just like this podcast did.
Yeah. And you got to be ready. And I think sometimes we think we're ready. And the only reason we think we're ready is because we're impatient, right? And God's like, no, I am working this out. I am getting you ready. I'm going to get you right where you need to be. And you know what? Me and God talk a lot, and he doesn't share much of his plans. But I'm going to go on a limb here and say, I see what God's doing here, Eric, because you have a lot of, as they say, irons in the fire right now.
Just
a couple. Ministry school, you're starting a catering business, you've got your full-time job, you've got your ministry, Big Blue, podcast, fatherhood. Yeah. You got elderly parents that come on, Eric, you've got 12 full-time jobs. You say only 4, but you have 12. And so I think God's just waiting to get you a little further down the road to...
Yeah, I figure.
Then you'll be ready. You'll be ready.
But at the same time, we're impatient. So, you know us. We're human, and we're like, I need it now.
And sadly, the only... we give a lot of helpful hints and try to, give you guys some practical steps. And sadly, the only way to get patience... Well, there's 2 ways. You can pray for it. Yeah. But then all God does is give you things you have to wait for.
Yeah.
So there is no shortcut to patience, which that's an oxymoron in and of itself.
All right. So we started off talking about obedience can lead to freedom.
Yes.
I had 4 bullet points on this, and know his word.
Yeah.
It all comes back to run that play, right?
Run his
playbook. So you got to know the playbook.
Got to read the Bible, study the Bible, pray the Bible, and reread the Bible.
Exactly. You know his word. And then you listen to him. We go back to that prayer time where you're listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then your conscience.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that, Jiminy Cricket's your conscience. But it's not. God instills that Holy Spirit in you when you become born again. And that voice will speak to you from inside.
Sure.
You'll be anybody who's ever been in that situation where you go, something feels weird here.
Yeah.
And you go, maybe I shouldn't do that. Stop and don't. Because that's God telling you it's bad.
Yep. Yeah. I just shared this. I consider it a near-death experience. I shared this story the other night with some girlfriends, but I was on this hike in Mount Zion. And if anyone's ever done Angel's Outlook, it is this hike that takes you on this like fin of rock. And so when you get to the very end of it, you're surrounded almost 360 degree by this massive canyon. And it's incredible. And I saw the pictures, and Eric, I hiked like 8.5 miles to do this thing. And that last half mile, I was right there. I was ready for just that amazing vista and that amazing view. And I get to this part of the trail. Oh, and I'm by myself, by the way, but never faced me before. And I get to this part of the trail, and it narrows greatly. And on either side is a steep drop off, hundreds of feet down. And the only thing that's really giving you any kind of sense of security is like a pole and a chain in the middle of this trail. Like, I guess that's what I'm supposed to hold on to, right? And I thought, so what you're saying is if I trip, if I faint, anything, I didn't have anything to like clip myself into, rip myself. If anything were to go awry, I'm going down, and guess what? No one knows where I'm at. And I stood there and I wrestled for the longest time. And everything in my inner voice was like, don't take another step. Don't take another step. But of course I'm like, yeah, but I already came 8.5 miles. I just want to finish this. What could happen? Like I've never fainted before. I haven't tripped this whole hike, and I'm arguing with myself. And finally I just kind of like gritted my teeth and turned around like a sad kid, took my toy and went home. Like I hiked all the way back down. I'm like, I can't believe I never made it to the end of that hike. Yeah. But guys, I'm telling you, like I'm alive and breathing, probably because I listened to that inner voice. Yeah. And that was God. I mean, we talked before, sometimes God shows up in this, angel in a white BMW to change your tire. And sometimes it's just that inner voice that says, stop.
Yeah.
Go, turn around.
Yep.
And sometimes that inner voice says, that person right there needs your love. That person right there needs your prayer. Yeah. Go talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Like, so you got to listen to that voice inside and then learn from your failures.
Eric, how much time do we have?
We don't have that much time, but I fail. I mean, I'm a human. We were listening to DJ that one day, and he was talking about his favorite verses in Romans where it says we all fall short, and even when we were sinners, God still sent his son. So you got to think about it that way, that we're all going to fail. We all mess up. We hear that voice that Amy's talking about, and most of us go on.
Yeah.
And you may fall, or you may trip, or anything, and you may be saved from death. Learn from it. Next time you get to that spot and you're holding on and you're like, I should turn around.
Yeah.
There's a reason you hear these things. There's a reason that we fail. God shows us and allows us to fail because we have free will. We have that freedom.
Yeah.
That obedience comes with. Like, he wants you to do it his way, but we're willing to fail if we learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, he doesn't want us to just be these brainless robots that do everything he says. He wants us to use our hearts, our discernment. He wants our love, because it's freely given, that we lay it down. We lay our lives down, to him. And that's the only way you have love, right? Nobody is forced to love anybody. And so being obedient to his word, it doesn't, I've said this so many times, it's not like this cosmic buzzkill that says, oh, I can't do any of this stuff. Like, being obedient to his word is sometimes just the most beautiful thing. Like, I want you to love the unlovable. I want you to pray this person. And God comes through for you. He tells you, like, we've both kind of heard from him recently about like people that are in our lives that we believe the only reason they're in our path is so we can minister to them. And, and that's us being obedient, just loving on people that we already love anyway. Like, see, Jesus says his yoke is not heavy, his burden is light. That's what I'm talking about.
And I think a lot of the obedience that he gives us in our failures, he knows that we're going to fail, but he's setting us up to succeed later.
Yeah.
And I have a story, and I told Amy this story, and I don't have time now because we're right up against our time frame again. But it's my airport story from last year, and I'll tell it.
Yeah, just tell it, Eric. Come on.
All right. So I was on my way to, and I had to go to Charlottesville, Virginia, to get on the airplane. And so I had planned that I knew my flight was leaving at like 9:30. So I knew how much time I needed to get to the airport. I knew everything I needed to do, and I was timed out right. I left. It was pouring down the rain. I drove all the way out to Harrisonburg, and I get on 33 to go to Charlottesville, and my gas light comes on about the time I drop over the mountain. And I'm like, oh, man, I need gas. Oh, it'll be all right, you know. I can get to the airport.
This is why we're friends, Eric.
Yes. So I go all the way to the airport, and I was like, well, let me look at what time. Well, I was on the way there, and before the gas light came on, I looked to see what time the flight left, and I thought 9:30. Well, it was 9 o'clock.
Oh.
So it already a half an hour behind schedule, and I'm like, I got to go. So no time to get gas. I run as fast as I can get there. I get to the airport. It's pouring down rain. I go in. Of course, flights are delayed. Get on the first flight. We get to Charlotte. Flight's delayed. I get to Nashville. We land, go in and enjoy. And on the flight from Charlottesville to Charlotte, I sat down beside this young girl. And I said my hellos, and I'm talkative because that's who I am. I talk to people. And I hear God say, tell her about me. And I said, no. I'm like, I don't want to be that guy on this plane that's going, do you know God? And so I said no. And honestly, the whole trip there, that's all I could hear was God saying, come on, you can do it. Just open your mouth. I'll give you the words. I'm like, no. And so we land in Charlotte, and I'm like, I'll catch her out here in general population, basically. And I didn't see her, and I missed that opportunity. And I went through the whole trip in Nashville, and it was a wonderful trip. And we were on the way back, and the weather was identical. Rainy, nasty, just terrible mid-December rain. So you know you're going to be delayed. Well, it's a late-night flight. I'm leaving at like 8 o'clock at night, landing in Charlottesville at midnight, I think was the land time. Anyways, not thinking about anything else. I get on the plane. It's on time. We get to Charlotte. It's on time. We get from Charlotte straight to Charlottesville. I land 2 minutes early.
Wow.
I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I'm going to get home 2 o'clock in the morning. Everything's wonderful. I get out. I got to get my luggage. Like half an hour to get the luggage for some reason. We're the only plane in the
Yeah, of course.
Took me half an hour to get my luggage. Get luggage. I get out to my truck. Well, on the way to the truck, it's pouring down rain, like buckets of rain.
Okay.
I'm soaking wet. I put my luggage in the back of the truck, soaked. Turn the key. Ding. That gas light.
Oh, right.
Oh, I got to get gas. So I'm like, all right, God, let me get out of the parking lot. So I go pay to get out of the parking lot, and my arm is soaked. My truck is soaked. It's pouring down the rain. I'm just an absolute wreck at this point. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I go down the road a little ways, and I get to a Sheetz, and I get some gas, and I start up the road, and I'm just like flying. And my truck's got good tires, so I'm not worried about it. So I'm driving really fast, and I'm on cruise control like I always am. And then about halfway to Harrisonburg, I skid, hydroplane.
Yikes.
And I hit the brakes, and I control it, and I'm like, oh, that was scary. And it was like, just take control of your own truck, stop the cruise control, just take control of the wheel and do it yourself. And I'm like, so I got a hold of it really good. I'm driving, and I go around this next, like another turn, like a couple miles down the road. And it's just outside of Harrisonburg. And when I do, I skid again, straight towards guardrails. I get it under control. And as I get under control, I see taillights down over the bank.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, oh, no, somebody else wrecked. And so I stopped, and I backed up. And when I backed up, I picked my phone up, and I was going to call 911 because you see taillights in the down over the bank. Just call 911, right? And God says, no, don't call. I was like, okay.
Okay.
So I just put the phone down, and I go to get out of the truck. Well, people start coming up over the bank that instant. And it's a young woman and 3 males. And they're all early 20s, probably, maybe a little younger. And I'm like, everybody okay? And they're like, yeah, we're fine. We just ran down over the bank. And I'm like, okay. And I turn around the corner and I look at their skid marks, and they missed this guardrail by just a couple feet.
Ooh.
Like the end of the guardrail. And they missed every tree. And the car's in perfect condition. It's just down over a really steep bank and it's muddy.
Huh.
And I'm like, wow, y'all lucky. And so they're like, can you just give us a ride to a hotel? We'll get it pulled out in the morning. I'm like, well, there's no property damage. So yeah, technically I can do that and I broke the law. So I did. I said, come on. And they're like, well, let's get our stuff from their truck and we'll throw it in the back of your truck and we'll just go to the hotel. So I put the girl in because it was raining like crazy. I put her in the passenger seat and I helped the boys load everything up and I put them in the back of the truck. And when I was putting them in the back of the truck, I saw a book that I had recently got that was the 21-Day John Challenge. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, let me move that. So I moved it so the boys didn't sit on it. And I just, went out. Anyways, we're getting ready to pull out. And as I put it in drive, a vehicle pulls in behind me. And they said, oh, that must be our Uber we called. And I went, you called an Uber? And they're like, yeah, we called an Uber because we didn't know if we could find a ride to there. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I got here just in time.
Yeah, you did.
And so I said, well, do you want me to stop and you can cancel it or I go with him? And he said, no. We'll just cancel it and then we don't get charged.
Yeah.
So they canceled their Uber and I'm driving up the road and I hear God say, tell them about me. And I went, seriously?
Right now?
And it is as clear as a revelation as I could ever get. I looked at the girl and I said, I think it was a reason that I'm here. And she said, I figured you were going to tell me. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I hear your Christian music and I see your shirt and I see your cross. And there's no doubt in my mind what you were going to tell me tonight.
Wow.
And I said, that's awesome. And I said, you missed that guardrail by just this much. And she said, and I was sitting on somebody's lap without a seatbelt.
Wow.
You'd have been killed. And she said, probably. And she said, the last thing I did before we went over that bank was I closed my eyes and said, God help me. And I was like, that's really cool. So I told her all about my testimony and what God's done in my life. And the boys were like, oh, can we give you $200 for taking us to the hotel? I'm like, you don't owe me a penny.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, I gave them all a hug. And I handed them the 21-day challenge for John. And I said, I looked at the girl because she was the most receptive and like in tears. And she just looked at me and she goes, what can I do to pay you back? And I said, read this book.
Yeah.
No matter what, you read this book. That's my repayment. And the boys just hugged me and they were so thankful. They're like, who does this? And I'm like, there's no chance that if God's timing didn't work out perfectly, my flights were on time, I had to get gas. All of these things worked. And he prepped me on the way there to talk about him and not to say no.
Yeah.
And so all of that worked, that I was obedient.
Right.
And when I left there at 3:00 in the morning from dropping those guys off at a hotel, I didn't care if I got home at whatever time because that was the most joyous occasion because I knew I had helped them find God.
That's so cool. Now, I got to ask you, though, after this experience, did it make you feel kind of bad that you didn't bring it up on the airplane?
No, I just think he was prepping me.
He was prepping you.
He knew I would say no on the plane. He knew I would say yes later.
Because you already said no.
He knew that I was so upset about saying no on the plane.
Yeah.
That he put me in a situation that he wanted me because he preordained that.
Yeah.
He knew before I did not get gas on the way there that I was going to need it.
That's amazing. And yeah, I mean, it takes us sometimes in our darkest, like most scared moments for that girl's heart to be open to him and to who he was. And the fact that she said that, when she said that prayer, God help me, like you have no idea where her heart was. Yeah. Maybe she's like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if he's real. Let me just throw this out. And then, man, God shows up. That's so awesome.
And I mean, they missed the Uber by like a little bit of time. And it could have been somebody else's car they got in, but it was mine.
Yeah, that's so great. And guys, this is, man, when God calls you to be obedient, like this is what happens. Like he uses you in amazing ways. And you got friends in heaven because of just listening to what he asked you to do.
And I never got their names. I wish to this day, but I don't think it was my destiny to know who they were. I knew their names that night.
Right.
But I've never kept up with them. I don't know where they went with that, but I hope one day that they find me and they say, that night changed my life.
I hope so, too. I hope they tune in on this podcast and like, I recognize that West Virginia redneck.
Right. That guy who just stops randomly in the middle of the night and helps us out.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening with us, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
perfect tomorrow. No more shame or sorrow.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in today. I really love that y'all joined in and you got this far. So here's a few things that we'd ask for you to do. Please go to whatever platform you're on, because we're on all the major platforms. And if you're listening to this, you know that. So like, subscribe, share, and invite others to listen. Also, we have a Facebook page, Born Again to Live, the podcast. So go there. Send us prayer requests, comments, whatever you want. It's all there. Private message. If you need answers to questions or any of that, we're there for you. So, thanks again.